Hi guys, welcome to the MMA UK BJJ show. So obviously me, Stoomboy, as always. Joined by, I was putting him out, King of the North. So Scott Ramsay.
Yes.
Scott, as many people will know, Scott's been around Jiu-Jitsu for years, for a good number of years. Obviously, you've seen Scott about. If you've never seen Scott, you've definitely seen some of his students or faced some of his students in competition and had their ass kicked. So, but yeah, Scott, black belt under Mill Hill, so under Nick Brooks now. So, yeah, we're just going to hear a bit about Scott's journey, hear a bit about Scott's kind of experiences through competition, and obviously his vision for the future. So, obviously, future. When I say future, obviously COVID dependent, Scott.
Yeah, it's up to Boris that one, isn't it?
It's up to Boris how.
See what Boris's vision is first.
Definitely. So Scott, listen, an absolute honour. I mean, as I said, it's Valentine's Day. Obviously, most of us are supposed to be spending it with our better halves. But obviously, me and you managed to get some time together.
We did. It's special time, isn't it?
Special time, Scott. Special time. So, but yeah, listen, absolute honour. Thanks again
for it's great being here.
For obviously taking the time to speak to me. So yeah, start with the obvious. Obviously, lockdown. Now I know that you've been kind of fortunate. You've had your partner, is it Emma?
Yeah.
So you've been able to obviously do some training with Emma and stuff like that. So I mean, how's it been for you though?
I mean, lockdown-wise, last year financially is a bit of a nightmare for me because I work in hospitality. So it hit me probably pretty bad, to be honest. But on the other side of it, thankfully my garage has mattered, so I'm all right. So we've been training. I mean, we've been doing with circuits, and I think it helped that we had a good summer. Yeah. So I've got quite a big back garden, so I was doing my circuits and my different training there, and then obviously in the garage with Emma, getting some rounds in and circuits in there as well. So I've kept myself ticking over, really. It's not the same as you can do any training you want. It's not the same as being in an academy with your students and your coaches, but sometimes you just got to make the best of a bad situation, you know. Yeah. So I think it hasn't been a nightmare. Could have done with the work, but you know, mentally and physically, it's affected a lot of people. Not me, because I've kept myself quite active, and I think, and looking on the, you know, when you look on the internet and the forums and the people I speak to, and students and other black belts, people have been trying the best, you know. Keeping themselves active, which is a good thing, you know. It makes you wonder what everybody's going to look like when they actually come back on the mat.
It does. I mean, there's a lot of guys. I mean, there's a lot of guys, as you know, weights went on, and because again, I mean, jiu-jitsu, it's a difficult one because you know yourself. I mean, to properly do jiu-jitsu, you need to be on the mats.
That's my thing for years. It's the only way to get good at jiu-jitsu is to be on the mat training jiu-jitsu, you know. I mean, everybody has their own personal opinions and that, you know, and everybody wants to do weights and cardio and that. But yeah, it does help, and it is their own thing. But I think mat time, rounds, drilling, you know, being on the mat just generally is where you need to be, you know. And I think people are itching now. And I think people now are appreciating the competition scene more. Because, you know, people are always saying, I want to compete, I don't want to compete, I can't, I'm not capable, you know, and things like that. Now people are probably thinking, I just want a competition. No matter how bad you are, I think they just want to get to a competition, you know. I'm one of them, you know, and my students are the same, you know. Everybody's like, we can't wait to get a fight camp going, and, you know, and it just is the way it is. You just got to make it the best, you know.
Yeah. Definitely. And then it's funny you mentioned competitions there as well. I mean, that first competition, certainly in the UK, is going to be a wild one because there's going to be, everybody's going to want to do it. I mean, first competition will be like it'll be like a Liverpool Open, and then
it's going to be like a derby day, isn't it?
Yeah. about 2,000 people or something turning up to compete. So, but yeah, I mean,
I hope it is though, because, you know, we've got people like Lawrence Dutton, people like that, you know, who they put a lot of time, effort, and money into these competitions. And, you know, and the annoying thing is we're seeing competitions around the world, especially in parts of America, taking part. I think is it Dallas, Texas? You know, they've had IBJJF have been doing loads, and we're looking, going, why can't we do them? You know.
Yeah.
I hope the competitions, when they start kicking off, I hope we can't get in the room there. I hope it's absolutely rampacked, because that's what the sport needs, and this is what the organisers need to be financially capable of going forward and doing that. You know.
Yeah.
And I've seen a picture. Who was it? Jude Samuels put a post on Facebook the other day of the original London Opens from years ago, you know,
I saw that,
17, 18 years ago, you know, and you look there and it wasn't a round match, but it just shows how far Jiu-Jitsu's come, you know, and you look at the mats, before lockdown, I mean, the competitions were brilliant, you know, they were round, but hopefully we'll get back there.
Yeah. It was funny. I looked at them pictures. There was no fancy rash guards and fancy spats, and guys were just turning up in a pair of shorts and getting on the mat.
We got the train down. I trained. We were under. I think we're on the master team, because I got my blue belt off Hodger Booker, who organised the competition, the London Open and stuff, you know. And we went down, and I remember he was running late. The first one I done. You went, you need to help us put the mats out. So we spent an hour putting these massive judo mats out. I was knackered, I was tired, and then we had to compete. And then when you go back to those days, and the old school guys will definitely remember, these weren't as light as what they are now, you know. It was like putting it was just massive. They were really heavy, you know, and after putting the mats out and then having to warm up in these geese and fight, it was horrible. But it was memorable, you know.
Yeah,
it was great.
I know.
Old school,
That's the thing. I mean, anybody I've mentioned, I spoke to from back in the day, from some of the original guys, and they always say the same thing. Of like the guys nowadays don't. They don't know how good they've got it now.
We're spoiled now. Now.
Yeah, I mean, because obviously now you can pretty much go and train. I mean, if for me, for instance, if I was to go down to London, I can message a gym and go and train, or Newcastle, or wherever you go, you can get a gym to go and train at for the night. Whereas obviously back in the day, I mean, you only had, I mean, a lot of guys said they used to travel all the way down. You mentioned as well, travel down to London just to get some training in.
Well, we used to. When I was a white belt, it was me, Trevor Mitchell, who goes into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and Aaron Nesbitt. Trevor Mitchell now has got a few issues with his back, so he doesn't really train. Aaron's got the dungeon BJJ. But now, when we used to travel down, EasyJet done a flight from London from Newcastle to London, Stansted for like £40. So we used to get a flight down, and we used to go into London, and we used to train at London Fight Factory. We used to sleep on the mat overnight. Louis was a great guy, used to let us stay there. But just before that, we used to go to Third Space. I think it was in Soho. It was Gracie Barra where Mauricio Gomez was based. Jude Sanders was a blue belt, and that's how long ago it was when I used to train down there. And obviously coming from the northeast where there wasn't a lot of jiu-jitsu, the standard at the time we thought were really good, but the standard wasn't amazing because of there wasn't even any blue belts around. So to go from that down to London and train with them blue belts. And these blue belts were phenomenal. You know, we come back with tails between the legs. But the amount that we learned over the course of a weekend, we could take back and work on that for 2 months and then go back to London again, you know. Best times ever. Absolutely amazing. Brilliant.
Nice. And then, so when would that be? When was that started for you then, roughly?
Not terrible with dates. The first time I ever stepped on a mat to train was 98, 99-ish, and it was with Ian Freeman, when Ian Freeman used to train at Herrington Burn in Sunderland. I'd done some classes there. And then, because I was in hospitality, I moved away to Halifax. And here's one for people. I found a club in Huddersfield, and it was Anaconda BJJ. For people and that was Chen Marias' affiliation, who I don't think it was a black belt. I think it was a blue belt in Brazil, and he flew to UK. When you landed in UK, he was a purple belt, something like that. And then when I moved back home, I think it was 2000, 2001, when I got into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu properly, and that was because Trevor Mitchell and Aaron Nesbitt had learned off the black belt Michael Richardson. You know him from down south. He was a blue belt again, and I think he was teaching them, and then they started teaching me, and then just never looked back. 20 years, something on and off.
It's funny you say Chen's still got Anaconda over in Brazil. Yeah,
right,
yeah.
okay.
No, not Brazil, sorry, Barcelona.
Barcelona.
So he's a coral belt now. So
Is he? All
yeah,
right.
yeah.
Oh,
So he trains a good friend of mine, Dean. Dean went over to Barcelona and
right.
to train with Chen.
Yeah.
And Dean's now a black belt. So Dean was a blue belt when he left.
Awesome.
So, but yeah, Chen's still kicking about. Still got Anaconda over in Barcelona.
Oh,
So
it's been going forever then. I'm sure one of the greatest was based in Barcelona as well. I can't remember which one it was, but I'm sure it was.
Yeah,
there was
yeah.
one. But yeah, a lot of people. Sorry, go on.
No, I was going to say, whatever. If you're ever over in Barcelona, I mean, definitely hit up Chen. So it'd be good to see him, old faces from back in the day.
It would be, yeah. I never actually met Chen though. That's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Never met him.
Yeah.
With some of his students there, But yeah, and I got some classes in there, but going from Halifax to Huddersfield, and then I moved back up north, and then that's when I got up north. I was already up north, but that's when I got involved with Trevor and Aaron and trained. Got the bug big style then.
Right. So what was your motivation then for getting into jiu-jitsu? I mean, what pushed you? Because a lot of people come out with different reasons. Where I want to get fit and healthy, build up confidence. People were getting bullied, or did you know what I mean? It was a martial art because it was an up and coming martial art.
Well, when I was in the early 90s, I used to watch the first UFCs, and then obviously I never really knew who Royce Gracie was or anybody like that until I started watching, the UFC. I was at a friend's house, a guy called Graham. He doesn't train or anything, but he was just had them on one day, and I was watching, what's this? And why is he fighting with that on, and he's beating everybody up. And then over the next few years, I got to learn more about the Gracies, and I'm like, and then I tried it, looked it up and that, and then when Trevor says, there's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, part of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, try it, and that was it, really. It was just historically in my brain, what I'd seen and what I knew and what I'd heard, and then obviously you start reading up and think, what's this art, and I give it a go. It was just purely because it looked amazing. It was nothing to me to make me fight better or get fit or anything. It was just, I was just mesmerised by Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu,
Yeah.
And then as I started, I really struggled with Jiu-Jitsu when I first started. Like, I was horrific, absolutely horrific. But as I started getting better, I realised how good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was,
Yeah.
And that's why I started, And when people start now, it's more global, isn't it? It's easy to get the instructionals and the videos and follow your favourite fighter. Back then, there was nothing. It was Grappling Magazine I used to order from America.
Yeah.
I used to cut out all the techniques and put them in a file, and then on a night time I'd sit and read the file and then try and practice them. And that's how we learned about it, anyways.
Yeah. Do you think obviously the way jiu-jitsu's evolved, obviously you talk about YouTube and stuff like that. I mean, you can go on YouTube and you can watch any top fighter doing any move and things like that. I mean, do you think now there's maybe a bit too much out there, or do you feel now's the right time for what we've got?
Now is the right time for what we've got, but I think YouTube, I mean, we've just said about how we've got it easy now, how many academies are on. So let's just forget about the lockdown for a second. Imagine everything's back to normal.
Yeah.
Just dreaming, I mean, the need for YouTube should be less for instructionals because there is so many good instructors out there and coaches, The problem I've got with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is I'm on YouTube every day. I go on YouTube every single day. I've got some people I follow on YouTube who I like to watch. JT Torres is probably one of the main ones. I love watching him and follow him on different channels. But I'm not there to learn technique. I'm there just to follow, someone that I love and admire,
Yeah.
Now we've got problems where someone's a white belt and they want to learn jiu-jitsu. Instead of going into the academy and going, right, I want to learn jiu-jitsu, and the coach going, right, you need to learn to defend from, learn the guard, learn your passes, learn your defenses, hip escape, shrimp, stuff like that. They want to go and learn a fancy berimbolo or a heel hook. And then I'm like, why? Like, you can't even pass a guard. Why would you want to even, you can't berimbolo standing there anyway. Just, you've got to learn to pass the guard before you learn these, and that's the only problem I've got. But then going back into lockdown, it's good if you are like me. With me, my partner, it's perfect. She's a white belt. Keeps reminding us that she should be a blue belt. But I just keep beating her up and teaching her anyways. it's ideal for her that she lives with me, but for other people, it's good just to keep in the know, watch the YouTube. Even if you've got someone that you live with that's not interested to drill with, then it's better than nothing, isn't it? You know, it is better. But I love YouTube. I think it's the best thing out there for learning, you know, and every instruction is on there. And documentaries, I like the old school, the arts way of documentaries, that I still watch them, you know. Especially when you be in them gyms and you see it on YouTube, I used to train there, you know. And I like YouTube for stuff like that, the documentaries. It's good. There's good learning.
Yeah. Let me ask you about a documentary. I don't know if you've seen it. I think it's on Flow Grappling. It's called American Jiu-Jitsu versus Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So I don't know if you've heard about this. I mean, what had happened was, obviously everybody knows it's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It's always been Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Some people call it Jiu-Jitsu and so on. So what happened in America? A few guys kind of have came around to the thought that shouldn't be called Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It should now be called American Jiu-Jitsu. Okay, and the reason for that is because obviously the Americans and the kind of one of the main guys is Keenan Cornelius. Obviously when Keenan moved away and set up his own gym, he set up what's called Legion American Jiu-Jitsu. Now his reasons behind it is when Americans started doing jiu-jitsu, they introduced wrestling into jiu-jitsu. So just obviously made jiu-jitsu, what they're saying is they made jiu-jitsu better because they introduced American wrestling. So there's a few guys out there are in the thoughts, obviously Keenan Cornelius, Jake Shields, a few other top black belts from America are saying that now it shouldn't be called Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It now should be American Jiu-Jitsu. The other guys as well, Rafael Lovato. Obviously, we know absolute legend of a guy in Jiu-Jitsu and MMA. And he said, for him, it's not American Jiu-Jitsu. It's not Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It's just Jiu-Jitsu. And then you've got obviously the Brazilians. Some of the top Brazilians in the world are saying, well, no, it's our thing. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So, I mean, where would you stand? I mean, what would you call it?
Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu to me, it's the art. I mean, I don't think you need to change the name of it. You know, it's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu with wrestling, isn't it? You know, I mean, I've got one or two guys that train with us, you know, and they're really good wrestlers. So they'll use wrestling in their game, and I wouldn't say, well, it's not Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, you know. I think anybody who puts wrestling into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is on to a winner all day. I think to not have wrestling in your training is a bit of a mistake, but each to their own. I mean, if they want to call it American Jiu-Jitsu and it lets them sleep better at night and let them call it what they want, you know, it doesn't really bother me. It's like if you bring a British element into it, you know, the UK element, do we call it United Kingdom Jiu-Jitsu? You know, leave it alone. You know, it's the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It's where it's from. They've came up because of, say, the Gracies and what they're doing. It's superb art. Just hats off to them. You know, I wouldn't dream of changing. I'm with the Brazilians on that. Yeah, it's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but wrestling. I mean, if you've wrestled yourself and you've done, a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, when you're training and you've got someone that's a really good wrestler, it just keeps you on your toes, you know. And then you think, and then if you get beat by a wrestler, they're using their wrestling against your Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, you'd be mad not to say, come here, so I'll pick your brains. And that's how it works. So they're putting wrestling into it. I love that. Absolutely love that all day. Calling it American Jiu-Jitsu hasn't got the same ring to it, has it?
Nah, no. I'd say it was a Keenan opening up that gym, Legion American Jiu-Jitsu.
He's got too much time on his hands, hasn't he? Come on, Keenan, sort it out.
Yeah, so, and I remember, it's funny you talk about wrestling. I mean, I didn't experience wrestling and jiu-jitsu until I went to the World Masters. So I think I went over there, 2015, and hadn't experienced wrestling before that, because obviously in the UK we didn't practice a lot of wrestling. I know that now there's a lot more wrestling now, and then obviously when I went over there, that was my very first experience. And thinking to myself, fuck, and it was when the guy took me down, when we went down to the ground, and I couldn't do anything. I had absolutely no control, couldn't do anything, got stuck in a position, and he held the position for the rest of the fight. Do you know
I
what I
like
mean?
I like the wrestling style, because when you cut, like I've learned that. I mean, I'm not great at wrestling. I've got a little bit, you know, and I use a little bit. But when I've came up against the guys with wrestling when I've been training, they're really good at killing the jiu-jitsu player's hips.
Yeah.
You know, but that's why I like it, because I'm thinking, well, if he's stopping his movement, how do I get away from it? You know, and you find that learning wrestling to counteract the wrestling is the best way forward. You know.
Yeah.
And this is mainly with the MMA guys that I've trained with. We do a lot of wrestling in there. Training, of course, obviously, because, you know, against the cage and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I've trained, and it's even worse when you train with a wrestler that's a lot heavier than you. But these things are sent to test you, aren't you? You know, I've got a guy, one of my students, Chris Scott, Cage Warriors, pro MMA fighter. He's my brown belt. He's a hell of a wrestler, really knowledgeable. Pushes you, puts you through your paces. You know, we're very good coaching it as well. You know, so he'll beat you with something, then he'll explain how he done it. You know, and then he'll coach you through it. And then when you get good at that, he'll show you something else after he's beat you with that. You know, and it's a good learning curve. You know, and it's another example of never close your brain off to learning more and more. You know, because if you think you know it all, then you're gonna get. You know,
Definitely. I mean, wrestling, I mean, something. We've got a guy in Scotland, Cameron Nicol, and Cammy is obviously jiu-jitsu purple belt, training out the grip house, and obviously introduced wrestling into his game. And his wrestling got so good, he's now, him and Kieran Malone are being tipped to be entered into the UK, the Great Britain Commonwealth team.
Really?
Because they're wrestling. I mean, Cammy's probably in Scotland anyway. I mean, Cammy's probably one of the top wrestlers in Scotland. And again, it's just something that he introduced into his game to make his jiu-jitsu better. And now his wrestling is up there. So it's great that we've now got that opportunity where we can add in wrestling, and we can add in jiu-jitsu, and you can add in like sambo and stuff like that. So there's a whole load of stuff people are able to do now.
We've got some academies are lucky enough to have a wrestling coach, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu coach, Thai coach, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
What's better is if you have a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu player who does wrestling, and when they're teaching, they'll incorporate it. You know, rather than being, this is just wrestling, this is just Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It's good when you mix the two, because they do complement each other. You know, I still say judo. Judo complements Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. You know.
Yeah.
You know, it's only going to strengthen your stand-up game. Yeah. Some people don't agree, but it's horses for courses, isn't it? Yeah,
definitely. And then got a few people coming in. So obviously, again, Kevin Cunningham. I mean, I've known Kevin through competition. I'd say we were both in the same kind of bracket. We weren't in the same division. So,
quickly on Kevin. Kevin done some MMA. Wanting to improve his grappling game. I came and trained with us. When I had South Shields Fight Factory, he just went absolutely balls deep, never stopped training, 2-3 times a day. And then I was at work one day and he came in and went, this is when he was a white belt. Scott, what do you think of us doing the Pan Ams? I'm like, the Pan Ams? I went, well, yeah, like I would never stop anybody, even if they weren't at the level where they couldn't do it. I'm like, go and get the experience, you know, you're not going to get hurt. And then I remember, it was in California, isn't it? The Pan Ams, and I was in bed, and I woke up at stupid o'clock in the morning to a message saying Kev's won gold. I'm going, start a jiu-jitsu gig, and then he decides to go to the Pan Ams just for a laugh and wins gold, you know. So good.
Kevin was one of the guys. Whenever you met him, I just said very, very approachable. He would talk to everybody. And he was always one of the guys, especially for us older masters guys at lower belts. Kev was one of the ones that was out there representing, and as you said, he was winning. Almost everything he was doing. I think when I met him as well at the World Masters 2015, I think he won a bronze that year, I'm sure, in the World Masters. And if I can remember rightly, but he was over there and he was representing the UK, and so everywhere you went, like the British, the London Opens, and the Euro, Kev was there. Do you know what I mean? You would turn up and Kevin was there, and I'd say sometimes, as you said, he would go there and you wouldn't even know about it until he won gold. So, but
like, what are you doing? That's good though. It's good.
But definitely well travelled, Kevin. So, and so Kevin as well saying athletic middleweight Mr. Scott.
We're talking about Chris Scott, yeah.
So athletic.
Chris Scott used to be very athletic. He's put a few pounds on, so now he's an athletic middleweight, apparently.
Yeah.
he's gonna hate that comment, by the way.
And then you've got Jara Jiu-Jitsu. Yeah, I don't know.
No.
Well,
I used to live in I live in Jarrow now, so he's saying that Jarrow Jiu-Jitsu, but South Shields. I live in South Shields.
And then Rob, Old Dog New Tricks. Why Ma? I'm presuming that's meant to say, is it Ma or Man?
Yeah, Ma.
Right, okay. Why Ma? So
some joke about me mum's probably on its way.
And then Peter Knox. So who's the GOAT of Jiu-Jitsu? So in your eyes, I mean, obviously we know there's a lot of contenders, a lot of really, really top Jiu-Jitsu guys. And who would you say in your eyes then?
Well, I mean, people straight away when you say the greatest of all time at Jiu-Jitsu, they're going to say Buchecha and Roger Gracie and stuff like that, which they are. They've got the medals. I mean, me personally, I think the greatest of all time for me personally was Marcelo Garcia. I think pound for pound technical ability against who we fought and beat, I think he was the greatest of all time. That's just, and when I look back over the years, over the years of all the tapes and the old school, and even now, I think he's still up there, definitely. I mean, it's hard. It's a preference, isn't it? You know, I mean, it's easy to say the greatest of all time is the one who has the most medals, but I think when you look at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, it's based on, you know, the little guy against the big guy, if you like. But for me, you know, Garcia, technical pound for pound, to me is the greatest of all time.
Yeah, definitely.
People say Hickson Gracie as well, don't they? You know, but
Hickson, what's Hickson's MMA record? There's like 600,
something like that.
Nothing. So yeah, I mean, Henzo Gracie. I mean, Henzo was always a big favourite of mine.
I love Henzo.
Hodger Gracie, obviously, I got the chance to train with Hodger a couple of times. So really, really nice guy. Rodolfo Vieira as well. I had him up there, but then obviously I don't know if you've seen him last night. He got what did he got?
Fighting MMA, wasn't he?
Yeah, he got guillotined by a purple belt. So not even a one tab purple belt either, Scott.
Do you know the thing I will say, right? And I think this is a fact, and I think a lot of Jiu-Jitsu black belts will probably agree, might disagree. A lot of MMA, if you know, it's easy saying you're a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt world champion, you know. You put punches into the equation, it's easy to turn a black belt or a white belt, just as I've been there.
Definitely.
You know, I've done this with some of my MMA students when I used to train with some of them. And, you know, and I'd say, come on, jits with hits. And I wasn't a black belt when I was training like that, you know. So, but you know, there's a good saying, you know, even monkeys fall out of trees. So I guess, you know, and I'm sure Rodolfo Vieira, as great as he has, it's not the first time he's been submitted. It won't be the last. It doesn't affect his legacy, does it? I still think he's an amazing competitor. But you know, the internet trolls will be on there giving him grief because they're all experts, aren't they?
Definitely. I always remember I went to a seminar with Rodolfo. Rodolfo's always been, like, for me, one of my favourites. So when I started Jiu-Jitsu, it was Henzo Gracie. Henzo's still up there. But then once I started getting to know about Jiu-Jitsu, it then became Rodolfo Vieira, just because he's pressure passing and
very athletic for his size as well.
Yeah. So I got to go to a seminar, and we were having questions at the end, and somebody asked him a question about getting submitted in the gym. What does he feel? Do you know what I mean? Like, because obviously you get submitted, you continue, move on, and so on and so on. And Rodolfo basically said, "Look, if I get submitted, I'm coming to kill you." Do you know what I mean? So he was
fair enough.
Yeah, he says that one thing he not that he hates it, but obviously anybody that gets submitted, you think to yourself, "Fuck, I should have done this, I should have done that."
We've all got that little ego. Yeah. We'll say, leave your ego at the door, but we've always got a little bit, haven't we?
Yeah, so he says, well, he just said that if, let's say, for instance, you're doing a 6-minute roll and you're 1 minute in, he's like, see, for that next 5 minutes, I mean, he said, I'm going to give you the worst beating ever.
Imagine.
But it was just because it was Rodolfo Vieira. You're like, this is brilliant. Do you know what I mean? So he guillotined me. I mean, me and him rolled, and he guillotined me, and I thought it was the best guillotine I've ever had. Do you know what I mean? So
he's probably been nice as well.
Yeah. He'd probably put it on and let it go a little bit. So, but no, nice guy. But he'll bounce back. I mean, he'll come back, and chances are he want to fight that same guy again.
Well, you would imagine, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you've seen it. He was winning it, and then first round he just gassed out. Man, he just completely gassed out. And as you said, it could have been he got hit with a couple of big punches. And to be fair to him, man, he had some chin on him because he took a lot of big punches, but kept coming.
It's funny though, because when you look back at pro MMA, when you look at all the top black belts going over from Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu to MMA, I've sort of looked thinking the first fights have been a little bit easy, you know, like they're always going to submit them in that. And I don't know if I'm being unfair. I don't know. It's just just something I see. So perhaps you got a really tough opponent, you know.
Yeah.
Everybody's got a fighter's chance, haven't they?
Yeah. And then Steve sent this one through Messenger, so I didn't put it on the YouTube channel. So basically, Steve's saying he's got a couple of things in here. So one, we'll start at the bottom. He says, obviously for you, great coach, even better friend. And ask Scott about Rama's famous soapbox.
Oh, it comes out every now and then. Do you know, I mean, I'm not, when I used to train the old school way, it was very strict in the gyms, and when I went to gyms, you get shouted at and you get told off.
Yeah.
So, but I'm not really as strict when I coach the way I was coaching when I used to travel around, but I do get on my soapbox every now and then. I mean, a perfect example is something, I've got this philosophy, when we do our sparring sessions for an hour, it's get your first couple of rolls in nice and light, warm up, then get a couple of decent rolls in. If you've got an injury, sit out. If you are struggling or gassing, have a resty round. And I get really annoyed when people try and sit out 2-3 rounds, or after 1 or 2 rounds, they try to have a sit out round straight away when these are your warm up rounds to get yourself ready for a good hard session. Just the way I work, just the way I train, you know. There's a few occasions where I've stopped the class in the middle, lined them all up and bollocked them. And they say, and every time I line them up, if I line them up to give a belt out, a stripe, or just to give a competition update, or just to talk to them, they'll always expect me soapbox. And then someone will ask something, and it'll start us off, and I'll just start ranting away. So Rama's soapbox, it's always in your gym bag.
Yeah. And then he talks about as well, he says, how you inspire your students, like like his favourite bear from almost dead to gold at the British Nationals in the space of 12 weeks.
Yes. We call him the bear. He's built like a bear. He was training one night, and funny enough, I think he got guillotined, and he had a sore neck. And on his way home, he was really ill. You know, he felt really ill. So one of the lads says, "Oh, do you want to go A&E just to get checked out?" Yeah. It turns out one of his arteries or veins had collapsed in his neck. And I think, I might be wrong, I'm sure when I say he's correct, I'm sure within 24 hours he dropped into a coma. And he was in a coma quite a while. I can't remember how long he was in a coma, might have been a week or 2. So he went from a good training session to going in a coma. He was in hospital for ages. Took him in, his rehabilitation, he had to come out, and he was goosed. We thought he was, probably a chance he could have died, it was really serious.
Yeah.
Eventually got himself back up on his feet, started training lightly, got himself built right up. Within 12 weeks of being in a coma and getting himself sorted, he came back on the mat, we trained him, and he went to London Nationals and destroyed everyone. Absolutely amazing. Unbelievable. And if you'd seen it and thought, oh yeah, he's just a good jiu-jitsu player, but to come back from what he was, and we've seen this many a times, in jiu-jitsu where people have had horrific injuries and illnesses and stuff, and they've come back and won. This was just the prime example of, and I say to people who miss training, I'm going, what's your excuse for not training? This guy was in a coma, And the good thing was, when he woke up from his coma, his partner at the time sent her a message and a picture of Steve in his hospital bed. And I think he'd been awake for half an hour. And she says, "Oh, Steve's got a message for you," and it was this. I was like, yes, he's back. He hasn't lost his personality.
Man, that's crazy. That's mad.
Brilliant.
I mean, to do that, I mean, as you mentioned yourself, I mean, people come on, and I mean, jiu-jitsu is one of these things as well, where we'll complain about the slightest little thing. I mean, we'll moan about, oh, I've got this wee niggle in my knee or a niggle in my shoulder or whatever, and then, as you mentioned there, I mean, a guy coming from almost
Crazy,
dead
man.
to then winning gold at the British 12 weeks later. So yeah, he's still training.
No, I think he's with lockdown. He's doing his own little thing at the moment, like everybody. But he'll be back. When we get up. Don't know what year that will be, but he'll be back.
Definitely. And then Stephen Gray saying he attended a 2-day Michelle Nicolini seminar at Scott's when he was a white belt.
Yes. He's from Scotland.
Yeah, Perth.
Scotland. Yes.
Runs Fair City Jiu-Jitsu.
All right, okay.
Absolute beautiful gym. Yeah, beautiful gym he's got. Yeah, I mean, it's very white. So it's I mean, absolutely beautiful. I mean, stunning looking gym. It's an open gym as well, but it's got all glass windows. It's ground floor. So I think I don't know if it's on like a shopping parade or something, but it's all glass windows, so you can walk past as you're shopping and just stand and watch.
Academy, isn't it?
Yeah. So
I remember Stephen. He was a good lad. Yeah, there was a few years ago. I had Michelle Nicolini for the whole weekend. I've done 2 mixed seminars, and I've done a ladies only seminar as well. So I had people from all over the UK come and done ladies only, as with the mixed one as well. So it was really good. Yeah, it was a good 2 days. Good 2 days.
Nice.
But nice to see Steve's watching. He's a good lad.
Definitely. Nah, Steve's a nice guy, really nice guy. So Steve S, again, I'm presuming this one of your guys, Scott. Has Scott adjusted his game around his knee injury and hemorrhoids? One of your guys, I'm presuming, yeah.
It's starting. I have definitely adjusted my game for my knee. My knee's absolutely goosed. More surgery on its way. I think it's my 5th surgery in 2 years. So yeah, I've got absolutely zero guard. So I let them, when I spar, people start on top because I do a little bit, but as in hemorrhoids, you just clench, don't you? What else can I say to that?
And then you got Wimbledon Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Call the fight photographer.
So up, Scott, Carol Fisher here, Mara. Who's been your biggest influence in your Jiu-Jitsu?
Do you know what it is? I think the shout out to that has to be the early days of Trevor Mitchell and Aaron Nesbitt. You know, I mean, influences go. I mean, when you look at, say, the 20 years in Jiu-Jitsu, there's been so many, especially when you see a fighter you love and you try and emulate their game, and you know. But yeah, Trevor Mitchell and Aaron Nesbitt, I have to mention them. They started in it, and I've never looked back. I've had some great coaches. You know, I mean. Ricardo Vieira gives me black belt. The 4 or 5 times I went to Brazil train with him, he was an absolute inspirational. Nicest guy you'll ever meet. You know, you look at these people, the multiple world champions.
Yeah.
He's been a massive influence. And then when I moved to Mill Hill, Professor Nick Brooks, absolute legend. You know, he's on the same page as me. So they're the 4 biggest influences. And then probably the biggest shout was my students. My students been on the mat. You know, I've got black belt under me, Sean Scott. He's always on my shoulder. He keeps us ticking over, and I've got some great guys, you know, everybody. So, but yeah, the original Trevor Mitchell and Aaron Nesbitt, you know, I wouldn't be sat talking to you possibly if it wasn't for them.
Yeah. And then Shah Scar.
That's me black belt, that.
Yeah, as we said, Sean, does the full body shaving help with your grappling?
Only if it's midnight and it's naked.
So Sean, obviously the black belt under Scott. So.
Yes. He's changed his name and all, hasn't he?
Yeah.
I'll tell everyone who you are.
So yeah, I mean, some good questions there. Some definitely good questions. You always kind of know whenever anybody comes on, usually their teammates come on, and it's the teammates that give them the hardest time. So again, is that something for you? I mean, obviously you've been around the game a long time, so you've seen some characters coming in and out of jiu-jitsu. I mean, is it important to have people like that in your 100%. Corner?
See, the thing is, right, is the downside is not everybody sees your humor. So, for example, me and my guys, people who know me and my guys, they know that we'll never turn up a competition quiet and just compete and go home.
Yeah.
We always like to drink, we always like to party, we always like to be loud, we always enjoy ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And we've also got to remember that some people are there to compete and win. That's their life. Whereas the majority of people just want to get fit, enjoy jiu-jitsu, compete and have a laugh, have some photos to show the kids and possibly win a medal.
Yeah.
Wear a bit of everything. And I think, each gym, it's their prerogative which way a coach, an instructor manages their students. Some are a little bit too strict, a little bit too mundane. We're very off the cuff. We're very relaxed.
Yeah.
Nobody ever calls me a coach instructor. I don't even dare bow to us. Just come in. I'm Scott, and we'll have a laugh.
No Professor Scott.
No. People who don't know us call us Professor, which is fair enough. It is what it is. It doesn't. I'm not offended by that. It's just I'm too laid back, man.
Yeah.
Too laid back.
Definitely.
But it is good to have some good characters because we've got an amazing rapport in the gym. It's when people come and join us, I always say, "Oh, you got thick skin? Do you like to laugh?" And it's not like, you just got to relax. And we don't offend. We're not offensive, but we are very we always walk on thin ice.
Yeah. That's why sometimes it's good to have a private group chat, because obviously some of the stuff that's in that private group chat, you couldn't put out public online, because as you said, everybody would have a 30-day ban from Facebook. So
I would never ever be allowed on Facebook if they got to see our private chats. And the thing is two things. Number one, in our private chat, and number two, in our warm-ups, we never talk about jiu-jitsu. That's the thing.
Yeah.
The stuff we talk about is mental. We never talk about jiu-jitsu. But I guess, when you think of people who have got, mental health issues, who've got stresses in life, sometimes you just want to talk about stuff other than jiu-jitsu and come and train and takes the mind off it, For the well-being. That's my excuse.
Definitely. And there's some gyms. As I said, you've obviously travelled about more than me, but some of the gyms that I've trained at when I've been on travels, there's some gyms not like that. Do you know what I mean?
No.
There's some gyms are very. I've been to a couple of gyms where it's been very serious and very strict, as you mentioned about, like going back to the old days. If you stepped on the mat, you were late, you got shouted at. If you went for a drink of water without being told to, you got shouted at. If your belt wasn't tied, there's a whole load of different old school rules in place, and so there's some gyms, as I say, that don't have that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? They don't have characters and they don't have things like that, which, for me, I couldn't train at a gym where I couldn't carry on. And as you said, have fun and enjoy yourself. So.
Yeah, exactly. I think the thing is when you're in an adult class, you need to be treated like an adult and you need to be respected as an adult. I've got no problem with people. They'll just go and get a drink of water. They'll go to the toilet. They'll do whatever. As long as they're training hard, I've got no issue. Talking about the drink of water, we used to travel to Seymour Leisure Centre in London, next to Marble Arch. And I used to go there and train with Hodja Buka. And I remember once, it was the worst session of my life. It was stupid hot. It was only a small room. Few mats, they had a glass wall for the ballerinas or whatever it was, if I can remember right. We weren't doing that, by the way. And I forgot my water. And just in we finished the round, I got up, walked off the mat to go and get a drink of water out the tap. I got absolutely griefed. I thought he was going to kill us, man. That's Hodja Brukin. And I still love the guy. Hell of a coach he was. He was brilliant. That's how I got my blue belt off Hodja Brukin.
Yeah. But it is, as I say, a lot of gyms are very, very strict. They stick to rules and stuff like that, which is fair enough. It's definitely fair enough. But I'd say for me as well, I think it's definitely important to have characters. Because without that, as I said, you would go in and you've been to other martial arts like karate or taekwondo, and it's very, very strict as you go in. Whereas jiu-jitsu, we're there pretty much choking each other and fucking trying to rip each other's arms off.
Is that not this is the best thing, It's like, the one thing we don't do is, and this is globally, we don't celebrate a chair when you submit to them. We don't do that in the gym. But you grief each other, you know, and there's nothing better than touching hands for 5-6 minute round, killing each other, and then at the end shaking hands and then griefing each other. That's what it's about, you know. And you know, you do one round, you forget about what's just happened, move on to the next. And it's the same as the session. You finish your session, you all shake hands at the end. Every single session, you shake hands, go home, come back and do it again, and we'll have a laugh, you know. It's just, I think it's a really triple.
Yeah, definitely. And then got Joseph Little. Who's the hardest little brother?
Two brothers I train with, Dan and Joe. And the thing is I wish I had a brother that done jiu-jitsu, because I would train 24 hours a day with him. Imagine trying to murder each other, you know, like the Diaz brothers and things like that, you know, imagine the fights they have. These two were both blue belts. They train hard, but when they train together, they train very hard. I knew Joe or someone would ask that. Oh, neither. I love yous both. But although I must admit, you know, it's great because they're tit for tat and they're always pushing each other. And that's a really good thing. So
definitely.
Next time I see you off air, I'll tell you who the hardest little brother is.
And then Alfie Binion, what mentality do you believe is the best for success in sport? The guy that puts in their all, the natural athlete, the person that's having fun and enjoying your time, etc., etc. So, what would you say then for you? Because obviously you've been successful. I mean, not just as not just personally, but obviously as a coach as well. I mean, that's we talked about Kevin being one person, for example. So, I mean, what do you feel? What's your vision for success?
I think if you enjoy it, you're going to learn better. You're going to learn more. If you've got a coach shouting at you and telling you how shit you are every 5 minutes, then you're not going to achieve nothing, are you? Well, the only thing you're going to achieve is losing a student on them, to be fair. You know, I think in all of them, I mean, if you're a natural athlete, it helps. Definitely, I wasn't a natural athlete when I started jiu-jitsu. I was horrific. I couldn't even do an armbar. I had to go in the corner of a boxing ring and practice moving my hips. That's how rubbish I was. So I wasn't natural. I just worked hard. I achieved what I did because I just purely worked hard and I absolutely loved it. Enjoy every session. So I think it's a mixture, isn't it? You know, and we've all had guys training that are the opposite of the natural athlete, you know, and they've turned out pretty good. I found that in America when I trained in America. There were some guys who I seen that didn't look like a natural athlete at all, but were phenomenal on the mat, you know. And it's so I think the answer to Alfie's question is all depends on the person, you know. But I don't think natural athleticism alone is enough. I think you still got to work hard. Yeah. Because there is other natural athletes out there who are going to be better than you.
Definitely. I think the one is well having fun. I mean, having fun for me is an important one. I mean, I turn up at competitions and I'm there. I'm enjoying myself. I'm on holiday, or do you know what I mean? It's a weekend, or if you go to Portugal, you're there for a week. You're enjoying yourself, and you're just going out. And, you're just having fights. You're just doing jiu-jitsu fights. So
the Euros in Portugal, absolutely memorable. Oh, my first ever competition with black belt was going to be the Euros. I can't remember what year it was now, 16 or 15. I can't remember. But I mean, when we talk about the competitions, I used to do silly weight cuts. So my first competition, I pulled my rib a week before I was competing. I don't want to name names, but Josh Dobson, my student, injured us before the Euros. So a week before, obviously, I pulled out the Euros, but Sean, who's my black belt now, he was a purple belt, I think. So I said, I'll just go to Portugal with him for a week. And I just got drunk. For a week. Had an amazing time. Watched the fights, went out, partied. Brilliant.
Cheap beer, man. The beer's cheap over there as well.
Yeah, man. It was amazing. Absolutely amazing, you know.
But we found a place. I mean, the first time we were over was, 2000? I think it was 2017 or 18. Yeah. And we found a place that was like nowhere near anywhere. That was like up a side street. And the beer was 65 cents a pint. Right? So we sat there and we were due to fly out that day. To fly home, and we sat there all afternoon, and I think it was about maybe an hour or so, or an hour and a half before our flight was due to leave. We thought, fuck, we better go to the airport.
Drink some more at the airport.
Drink some more at the airport, but obviously the airport was 5-6 euros for a fucking small can. Yeah, so but Portugal, beautiful. I mean, I've been there a couple of times. Absolutely love it. The people as well. I mean, the people. I mean, even the guys that selling all the drugs and all that. See, when you're walking down the street and they stop you, you want hash? No. You want ecstasy? No. You want cocaine? Do you mean you're like, what have you fucking like a pharmacy? Every single drug dealer's like a pharmacy.
Well, we the first time we went, we stayed in a hotel. It was quite far away.
Yeah.
And then the second time we took 14 away, I think it was, or 13 away, and we had 3 apartments.
Yeah.
And then we realised that the apartments were right in downtown Lisbon. And so we would walk out the front door. We loved the place. It was the best week ever, right?
Yeah.
We had 2 Irish bars next door. Then around the corner, we had all the clubs, the bars, the strip joints.
Yeah.
Then around the other corner, we had all the pizza shops. And then outside is where all the drug dealers stood in a circle. And I'm like, what kind of place have I booked? It's like mental. Yeah. But we had a hell of a week. Everybody fought, all doing weight cuts. So the ones at the beginning of the week were miserable because they had weight cuts to do. And then by the weekend came, that was it. It was just a free for all. And it was really cheap. It was very cheap, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, you're saying about the drug dealers. We went for a burger. We went to one of the Irish bars down the road. And we're all sat at this massive table having a pint and a burger. And it was like lower down, so the street would be just above head height with a window.
Yeah.
And we heard a knock on the window. And bear in mind, we're just having a meal, you know, and we're having a laugh. And then there's a guy with, you know, the flasher max. They open. He's knocking on the window, open like that, want drugs. And we're like, no, we just want to finish with burger in peace. It was brilliant. It was part of the experience. And then you've got to remember the Euros is, you know, at the time, but probably not now because it changed, but biggest competition in the world, you know. More numbers than the Pan Ams, you know. And it's good that they have it in Portugal because it's so cheap. I mean, we flew to Manchester from Newcastle for £50 each. We paid £100 for a week's digs each. It's absolutely, and we're talking pennies for a beer.
Yeah.
It's a no-brainer, isn't it?
Definitely. I mean, we pay a little bit more to fly over because obviously coming from Scotland, because we've got to fly from Scotland to London to Portugal. So our flight's a little bit more expensive. But we do a Airbnb every year. And I mean, Airbnb, it works out, I mean, for a week, it can be like 50 quid per person. Do you know what I mean? And the apartments we get are, the funny thing about Portugal, Lisbon, I mean, you could go into an area that looks like an absolute shithole. I mean, we turn up and you're looking at this place and you're like, what the fuck did I book? But as you said, no hassle. We didn't get any hassle. We never had any issues in Portugal at any time we've ever been there. So definitely love Lisbon. Definitely love Lisbon. I
mean, you're just saying there, 2017, me and Kev travelled around the world pretty much competing, you know.
Yeah.
And we we've done the New York Open.
Yeah.
And I booked the digs, and he never forgives us for this. So I booked it online on I can't remember what app it was, and it was in Chinatown. I don't know if you've been to Chinatown in New York.
No.
And I booked this hotel, and it looked all right, really cheap. It was the biggest shithole I've ever been in my life. Absolute shithole. Couldn't even find the toilet in the room because it was hidden.
Yeah.
In the middle of the night, there was. We didn't realise at the time, but on the night time, like midnight, we're trying to get a seat. We suddenly realised that prostitutes were using it to take clients back, but all the rooms weren't separated like a normal hotel room. It was like a thin stud wall, and above it was a grate, so you could, if I stood up, I could see in the next room. So we've got this couple on that side, and Kev's going, "What have you booked us into here?" I'm like, "I know, I'm sorry." So So I says to Kevin next year, and I haven't got the heart, and I haven't got the bottle to complain. I have complained. So we had to go. So we got the money back and went to another hotel. It was terrible. It was really bad. It's the worst. Do you know Hostel? The movie Hostel? Well, where they're killing people. That's what it looked like, man. That's what it looked like. Not the hostel, where the factory thing. It was horrible.
Yeah.
It was minging. Like, it's terrible. Really bad.
See, I've been fortunate. I don't think I've had anytime I've been on travels, and obviously I've been to like Lisbon and down in London, all the way over to America, California, Vegas, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, but I don't think I've had a bad. I did, in fact, my coach Marcus Nardini was over in Portugal with us, and we were due to fly home on the Thursday, and Marcos was staying till the Saturday or Sunday because he was competing. So the digs that we'd booked him in, we went to it and they double booked it. So they were like, sorry, we've double booked it. We don't have a booking for you. So you're like, what? So we had to then, they said, look, we'll send you to this other place. So they sent me to this other place, and we've walked in, and Marcos, well, I walked in first and I looked at it and I thought, nah, this is fucking horrible, man. As you said, it looked like a place you were going to die in. And Marcos came in behind me, and Marcos was looking about, and the person's obviously saying, well, what do you think? And I looked at Marcos, and Marcos is one of these guys who, again, as you say, doesn't like to complain, right?
Yeah.
So obviously me, I'm like, nah, this is fucking not on, man. I can't leave my coach, black belt, fucking Brazilian Marcus Nardini, in this shithole. Do you know what I mean? So he ended up, he went away and he met up with a couple of guys that he knew. But he still digs me up about it, saying, oh, Stuart, I remember you tried to book me in this fucking dive of a place. And I'm like, I didn't. They double booked it. So, but I still get the blame for it. So
yeah, I mean, most of the places I've travelled, I've stayed in some good places. I mean, when the London Open, the London Nationals and stuff, I held at Crystal Palace. There's some really good digs around there. We stayed in it's not a hostel, but it's like a block, looks like a block of flats.
Yeah,
it's really cheap. You know, we stayed at there. I mean, going back to when I first trained, we used to travel to London Fight Factory, and Luis Ribeiro, Machinia, he used to let us sleep on the mat, you know, and give a little electric fire. And so when you've been in a freezing cold gym in London, you sort of just learn to sleep anywhere, don't you? You know?
Definitely. And then you have, again, another friend of yours try to wind you up. You can remember Scott getting him to take, this is Warren. Warren said you were getting him to take a picture of your hemorrhoids when you wanted a night off.
What's these people think of me, man?
And then Shaska again, strike three.
Strike three. Yeah, if you've got shit banter on my messenger, you get 3 strikes and you're out. So some of the white belts have got really shit pattern. So when they come up with crap, you get a strike, and if you get strike 3, you're gone. So it's only fair, isn't it?
Definitely. And then Steve S, Professor Plums.
I'm sure they're all on the drink without me or something.
They must be. This is lockdown's definitely getting to them. Kevin Cunningham, when was the last time you followed through, darling?
He knows the answer to this. It was today. Well, listen, the story is I'm obviously training with Emma. So a week and a half, well, just under 2 weeks ago, I was training with her, and we scrambled and she headbutted us in the nose, bossed me nose. That was a Tuesday, and then on the Friday we're training again, and we scrambled and she cracked us. I mean, I've got a big nose, and it takes some hiding, which I managed to get it twice in 1 week. So now I've got a deviated. I don't know if you can see how bent my nose is, anyways. I've got a deviated septum, so my nose is wrecked. Yeah. And it's brought on a cold and everything, so I'm ill. So now I'm taking antibiotics. I can't train. I'm miserable. So the last couple of days, I feel a little bit more unwell. So today, I did follow through to do it. So. Yeah.
And then Wayne Spence talking about the group chat. The group chat puts a smile on his face every day. I mean, that's why we have group chats, Wayne. Definitely why we have them.
Private group chats.
And then Steve S, why, again, another one, why do you insist on spending the first 3 privates working on sinking the 3rd hook?
Well, my philosophy is, if you're good at getting the 3rd hook out, you can get the other 2 out. Rule number 1 is protecting your back. Never let them put the 3rd hook in.
Yes. And then Kev just talked about New York, Chinatown. Obviously, having a laugh about that. So, but yeah. Chinatown. So anybody that's looking to book in New York, definitely don't go to Chinatown in New York.
It was horrible. So, especially when you're competing, you know, and you want a good night. I'm not bothered about a little bit of disruption because I'll sleep through anything. But just if you're competing, you know, try and get yourself somewhere quiet. The nicer hotels, probably a little bit more market, you know. But this was just.
Yeah.
I wouldn't order room service because I have no idea what I would have got.
Yeah, definitely. And then talking about competition, I mean, what about for you? Because a lot of people get nervous and stuff like that when they go to. I mean, you see it. Everybody sees it. Yeah, the different type of nerves. It could be that they're absolutely terrified. They go to the toilet a lot, or whatever. I mean, what's your mentality then going into competitions?
Do you know what it is? The thing with me, right, is I don't take life too serious. Nothing serious. So to me, it's like whatever, you know. I competed years ago when I was a white belt, and obviously when I worked in hospitality, that always came first in my career. So I saw Jiu-Jitsu, I loved it, but I just wanted to practice and train Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah.
But then when I competed, I decided to compete at black belt, which to me was a bit. I should really compete at blue, purple, and brown, you know. But for me, like I said before, the Euros, I pulled out the Euros with my rib, and then the next one, so my first official was the Masters in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
And I mean, I did the competition. My competitions were a nightmare because I'd done these silly weight cuts, you know, which didn't lose any favours. But going, you know, prep wise, you can't really prep for a competition other than train hard and prepare your jiu-jitsu. I got a little bit nervous, but I say this to all my students when they compete the first time. I can guarantee, doesn't matter what you do, your nerves won't go until you step on the mat. And everybody says the same. The minute you step on the mat, whoosh, it's gone. Yeah. The minute you touch hands, there's definitely no nerves because all of a sudden you're in death mode. Kev's one of those. He likes a pre-fight poo. A good tip for anybody competing, if you ever go to a competition, take your own toilet roll.
Yeah, definitely.
Do not rely on going to the toilet in a leisure centre, example, and there being enough toilet roll. Because people's toilet habits are horrific.
Yeah, and try and go to the toilet early as well if you can.
Go to the toilet early,
if you go to the toilet at 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, it doesn't look like a toilet when you go in there. So
no, that's the thing. And do it in the toilet, not in your pants like I did today. But this is another thing, you know, it's a good thing to touch on is I mean, I've been to competitions where I've watched a guy come in the toilet with no flip-flops on, no shoes, and then going out. And I'm not saying the floor is dirty, but if you've been to a competition, a very good big competition, a busy competition, like you said, you go in the toilet to 4 or 5 o'clock tea time.
Yeah.
That is not it's not fit for a human.
No.
There's piss, there's shit all over the floor, toilet roll across the floor. I mean, that's the disappointing thing about the competitions, and it's not the organisers' fault. It's the pigs that are using them. Yeah. So wear your flip-flops and take a toilet roll. What we've done is, I think one of the students took a toilet roll and hid it in one of the toilet cubicles. So we knew where it was hidden because it was ours. You know what I mean? Because one toilet roll in a competition doesn't last 20 seconds, you know?
No, definitely.
I bet you never thought you'd be talking about toilet roll and shit today, did you, Stoomboy, yeah?
Definitely not. But no, listen, I can understand because I mean, I'd say that I've seen it many a time. I mean, the worst thing as well is not wearing any kind of footwear going to the toilet, and you see it all the time. But not just white belts, but fucking experienced belts. I mean, I've seen fucking black belts walking into toilets with no shoes on and stuff like that. And
yeah, exactly. Even if you're not competing and you've competed,
yeah.
I mean, going into deep and dirty, you put your socks and your shoes on. But, you know, it's how we are, man. And your students are there saying that, so you should be leading by example.
Yeah,
but I don't think it'll ever stop. It'll not stop with it.
Kev's just saying, best advice: always take your own bog roll. So, so it's definitely
good idea.
Definitely, Kev. As I said, I've met Kev a good few times at competition. Always, whenever I've chatted with Kev, and I always say to Kev's like for us because when we were back competing, when I was competing back, 2015, 16, Kev was a blue belt at the time as well. So, and he was always one of the guys, as I said before, one of the guys that, for me, being a similar age, looked up to. And it's quite funny, obviously, being in our 40s and looking up to someone else who's the same belt. But Kev was one of the guys, when you looked at Kev and he was out there doing his thing, and you always thought, do you know what I mean, we can do that as well. We can do that, and he was always a really nice guy. And as I said, Kev will talk to everybody. Will we'll talk to absolutely everybody that comes over to talk to him as well. So,
but you say that about looking at. I mean, I've been at competitions and Megat and Diaz, you know, Mackenzie Dernstad, you know, he's still fighting adult weights and stuff, and it's an inspiration, isn't it? You know,
yeah.
I mean, everybody's got the capability of doing it, you know. And I mean, going back to the Masters in Vegas, you know, there's divisions with people with no legs, there's people blind, you know, there's people obese, there's the whole range of people competing, and then you look at people who are kind of trained because I've cracked my nail, man.
Yeah,
that's the thing with me, you know. It's like there's some of the people training and fighting, and you can't get your ass off the settee.
Yeah, definitely. It's I mean, you're going to see it more and more. I mean, once the gyms eventually we do get open back up, I mean, everybody's going to be at the gym. Every single person, even guys that you've not seen in forever. Do you know what I mean?
Can't get my head around that closing the gyms. Like, I mean, it's a decision made by someone that doesn't use a gym, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, if you're in charge, if you had the decision today to keep the gyms closed or open, I'm sure you would open them. And I'm not saying for close contact like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I mean, to the gym, you know, and not everybody wants to go for a run or a walk down the beach. You know, some people need the machine. Some people need that, you know, the treadmill in the corner of the gym out of the way. That's their getaway, and they put the music in and just, you know, they're not bothered. You know, some people need that. Yeah. And that's the healthiest way to be as well, but it's closed. That's the thing that boggles me. I don't understand it. But what we do, you know.
I mean, it has. I mean, even like going back to the very start of it. I mean, the scientists came out and said the best thing to help against coronavirus was physical training, physical exercise. Do you know what I mean? They were telling people, go out to the park and do this and do that, and people were going out and doing it, and then they were saying, too many people are doing it, so we're going to stop doing that, and then they shut the gyms down completely, and then they reopened them again, and I think it was July or August time, to then shut them down again. And I mean, financially, I mean, I know my coach, I mean, he's still paying full rent and fucking full everything, and I mean, members have went down, the memberships have went right down, which is understandable. I mean, as I say, there's people out there losing their jobs and hours cut and things like that. So
when you think about, what about the gyms who went out and spent thousands of pounds on plastic screens, sanitizer, tape for the floor, signs everywhere, and then get closed?
Yeah.
They followed the government guidance, but now they've got to close, even though it's just...
Yeah.
It's the same as the whole hospitality. Let's close everything in the country, United Kingdom, at 10 o'clock. So now you've got 3 million people on a Saturday night on the streets. It's 10 o'clock because everybody's been kicked out. And it's not their fault, it's our fault.
Well, you saw the one, was it London? When they brought in that announcement, there was I'm sure it was London, and they kicked everybody out at 10 o'clock, and then somebody took a picture of the underground, and the fucking tube was rammed, packed full of people. And you were like, this is people that have been kicked out from pubs, they're now on the tube.
Yeah,
so,
doing as they're told.
Just absolutely madness. I mean, so what about you? I mean, your vision. I mean, once we get all this over and done with, I mean, whenever it happens, hopefully not too long now, obviously vaccinations and stuff like that. So we'll see what happens with that. But I mean,
I just want to get back on the mat with my students. I just, my whole thing for me is longevity, you know, and I just want to train until the day I die, you know, and I just want to try. And I've always been an advocate of jiu-jitsu. I've always, you know, put it out there positively because I think everybody should try it, you know. And I mean, at the minute it's impossible, but I think going forward for me, my vision is I just hope we get everything open. And I'm not bothered about. I mean, I don't say competitors. I mean, we cross train anyways. We get lots of students from other gyms, you know, which is something I've always said from day one. I think I'm probably one of the, not the only, but I'm one of the main gyms in our whole borough that has an open door policy. You know, and I always push people to come train. My students will go train everywhere they want, and that's always been my vision, and always will continue to be. You know, as long as your students are loyal to your academy, or competing and pushing the word out, man. You know, but everybody should be able to do what they want to do. I just think it just took a massive hit to combat sports, and I mean, I know people have illnesses and physical impairments and stuff like that, but it's very rare you'll come up against someone that's done Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for a long time that's unhealthy. If that makes any sense, you know?
Yeah.
It's a very, I mean, the funny thing is go back years, it was ringworm and staph. Now that's disappeared. It's all COVID, isn't it?
Yeah.
So COVID got rid of flu, we got rid of staph. Nobody's getting ringworm. Oh, the ringworm days, man. Oh, yeah.
Oh, listen, I used to hate that with ringworm. I mean, ringworm, unfortunately, for what we do, it's inevitable. It's going to come. And yeah, and then when it comes, it then fucking it's like an absolute tidal. Everybody gets it. One person gets it, and you don't even. The thing with ringworm is, you don't know you've got it unless.
Exactly.
I mean, it could be, especially if you've got a beard, right? Yeah. And you've got it behind your ear, and it's not until someone's maybe got you in a position and they look and go, "Is that ringworm?" And you're like, "Fuck, let me check."
Well, I had it once here. It's a big disc on my face. Right? I normally keep my beard really very like trimmed, really right down. But I had to grow it because I couldn't shave it with a ringworm. It was a nightmare. This big, it looked like a saucer on my face, you know.
Yeah.
And then my daughter got it on her eye when she was 2. I'm like, oh no.
Oh.
And, but she was all right. She had her own little gig in that anyways, and she got her training.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, what I would give for if ringworm was the only thing I worry about, do you know what I mean? I would have it back. Give us the ringworm, give us staph, whatever the fuck.
It's funny because when I first started training, I used to train in London and stuff. I never got it. it then. It was probably the later years, probably 6-7 years in. I think it's when I got when I was a purple belt, was probably around over there, which I think was the best. I think purple belt's the best belt I had, me, you know. I don't know why I just thought that. But when I think it was around that time when for me, I used to always get off the MMA guys. It's your fault. MMA's fault. Don't hate us, I'm only joking.
With the COVID, I mean, do you think that having this year off, I mean, it's going to have an impact on people's growth, people's kind of journeys and stuff? I mean, we always talk journey for jiu-jitsu guys is very, very important. So do you think it's going to have, I mean, what impact is it going to have on people when they come back?
Well, on the plus side, there's going to be a lot of injuries healed, isn't there?
Yes.
It's not the nicest sport for the body. Yeah, it's going to have an impact. I don't think everybody's going to come back. Not just personally for me, my students. I don't think all students who have been training a long time, I think some people have probably got more into health and fitness and stuff, so they might not come back. But I think a lot of people appreciate the gyms being closed, appreciate what they had, and I think we'll get a lot of new. Personally, I think we'll have a lot of new, an influx of new students.
So you think growth should be good?
Yeah, I mean, we're coming up nearly a year from the first lockdown. Was it February, March, or something? I
think it was March the 20th. I think it was. Yeah,
something like that. Yeah, so we're coming up a year. I mean, unless you're 100-year-old, it's only a year, isn't it? You know.
Yeah.
Most of us, we've got years ahead of it. It's only a year out. But, going back, I think people who really love jiu-jitsu have been a massive miss. But I think now, also, when I say people have missed the jiu-jitsu, I think competitions are going to go mental.
Yeah.
And I don't think people are going to want to train 6 months a year and get in a competition, condition. I think people are just going to go, I need a competition. I'm one of them. I don't care. I just want to get in there and get a competition. And the thing is, it'd be nice to go to a competition and see the old faces again, meet up with all the black belts I've used to train with years ago, and people I talk with, and go down to London and see Nick and his guys. And I think people are missing the travelling. Because, yourself, you've travelled, I've travelled, my students have travelled around, and, we've got seminars you want to go to. I want to travel more competition. I've never done the Raw Morton. I want to go to Rome and do the Raw Morton. I've never done that one. I want to fight America again. And there's so many, I've never competed in Brazil. It's just a massive bucket list, But hopefully this lockdown doesn't go on too much longer. I mean, I don't think combat sports is at the top of Boris's agenda. But even if we can get in the gym and start training the bodies, it'll be a plus one.
I laughed as well. I said the first gym that puts on the first open mat anywhere in the UK. I mean,
I see that.
It's going to be mad. I mean, it's going to be like fucking. Everybody puts that video up or that meme up every year at New Year, where like the Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
and they put it up and saying the gym, this is the gyms in January. I mean, that's going to be the very first open mat. So whoever puts that on, I mean, you're going to it could be a small gym, but you're going to have fucking 200 people turning up.
It's going to be like the old Jiu-Jitsu videos from Torrance, California, when people turn to fight Hickson and Hoist, wouldn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
We'll have an open mat, no holes barred. That'd be good, wouldn't it?
Definitely. Definitely.
The good old days of blood all over your mat. That's why I don't have white mats.
Yep. Nah, that's it. I'm looking forward to the first open mat, or not just the first open mat, but the first time we can get the gyms open. So I know that some people, as you still had the odd people that have been training. No, as you said, obviously you've fortunately you've got Emma there that you can train with. I mean, I've got my son. My son's a blue belt as well, so we could kind of train together. Well, he's not bothered his arse at the moment. So he's young. He's 22, 23. So he's at that age where it's affecting him. Do you know what I mean? This lockdown, it has having a big effect. I'm an older guy. Do you know what I mean? I can handle house arrest for a bit. Do you know what I mean? So yeah. So makes no difference to me. Do you know what I mean? So.
It is what it is, isn't it? I mean, everybody. I mean, I think the funny thing when everybody gets, everybody's going to be laughing at how bad each other's gas is, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know how it is. You train hard for a year, you have a month off, your gas is gone.
Yeah.
That's just the odds, isn't it? That's the ratio for Jiu-Jitsu, isn't it? You know?
Definitely. And then we laughed about Joseph earlier on, talking about who's the hardest brother. So there's Daniel jumping in, saying
there he goes.
He's the hardest, best-looking brother. End of.
There's only one way to find out, isn't it?
Definitely.
I'll organise. I'll put some mats on the beach. Yeah.
And then Steve S. Who's the most horrible person you've ever trained with, and why is it Davey?
Right. Well, two guys came into the gym to start training years ago. Josh Dobson and Davey McLaughlin. Right. Mm-hmm. Josh Dobson done me rib a week before the Euros. And Davey McLaughlin done me rib a week before my super fight in Newcastle in Sunderland.
Yeah.
So yeah, he is horrible.
Definitely.
And this is when we were speaking about the wrestling. Davey's a Bellator fighter. He brings a good wrestling base in, and we've learned off each other quite well. He's one of the students that does a bit of wrestling, and he does MMA, does everything. You know, stand up and no gauge stuff. And so when I have some stand up with him, let's get some good wrestling rounds in. I was trying to use my jiu-jitsu, but got to have me jiu-jitsu first. I was a Brazilian jiu-jitsu. I was a British jiu-jitsu.
American, it could be fucking Spanish, Italian.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So, but yeah.
But Dan got his blue belt before Joe, so he's hierarchy. So he's higher up there. But yeah, we'll have a kumite or something. Yeah.
Definitely. I'd say I'm looking forward to that. We definitely need to hear more about that when it happens.
Brilliant.
And then for
you, go on.
No, I was going to say as well, Anthony, what's his name?
Ant Hopper.
Ant Hopper, Scotty Too Hotty.
Walker Roughhouse.
Yes.
That's a good lad. He's a good lad.
And then, obviously you, so anytime we've got a black belt on, we always, when we finish off, we always ask for words of wisdom. Because obviously the black belt, you have done it all. You've been through everything to get to where you are. Obviously, you've still got some journey left to go. But for where you are at the moment, for people coming up with white belts, blue, purples, and browns, I mean, what words of wisdom would you install on us minions coming through?
Us minions. Always train. Don't miss training for shitty reasons. Don't rush it and enjoy it. That's the only 3 bits of advice. And that's the problem. If you don't enjoy it, why do you not enjoy it?
Yeah.
You know, and it's the same for you. If I from the minute I fell in love with it to today, talking to you now, I've still got the same fire. I love it.
Yeah.
But if you don't enjoy it, ask why. Ask yourself why. Is it the people you train with? Is it your coach? Or is it sport? Sometimes the sport isn't for you. And then this whole, you're going to start your first class. It's up to your coach what you learn. You might do a guard passing. I mean, we don't have a beginner's class, so you just jump in balls deep. But every technique in jiu-jitsu is for a beginner. It's just how you apply it and take your time in learning it, you know. Just because you learn a guard pass doesn't mean you now need to go on YouTube and learn how to do a triangle from mount. Take your time, you know what I mean? And this training thing, you know, I've had people who train once and then they come back 6 weeks later. And I'm like, why don't you just give us the money and turn up? You're wasting your money, you know?
Yeah.
If you can't train 2-3 times a week, then you're going to progress, but it's going to be slower, and you have to prepare yourself for the progression, you know? If you've got a guy in the gym that trains 3 times a day, every day, for a year, he's going to progress better than you. And when you train and get beat by that guy, you need to understand that.
Yeah.
But don't be demotivated by that. The motivation is you've got to beat your peers, you've got to beat the person above you. Every time you train, go for the best guy in the gym. Simple as that. And the best guy's not really going to beat you. Well, I wouldn't think. Unless it's a purple belt, it's a horrible belt. They like beating white belts.
Yeah, definitely. And enjoying it part. I mean, that's I definitely, for me, that's the one thing that I've kind of installed in my game, even competitions and stuff like that. Because what I do is, when it comes to competitions now, I'm 5'4", fighting in a super heavyweight division. Okay, so what I do is, and I've done this for years. Anytime I go into a competition, I find out who's in my bracket, right? And then what I do is I start messaging them, right? And one of the guys, in fact, you'll know Chris Morgan.
Oh yes, Chris is a good lad. Yeah.
So I'd fought Chris Morgan at the London Open a couple of years ago. I think it was like 2018. And what I did was I'd entered the division. Right, seen there was nobody in it. It was super heavyweight division. Seen there was nobody in it, and then I said, right, okay, well, I want to come down. I'm not want to turn up for a gold medal. Right, I want to have a fight, a couple of fights or whatever. So I thought, do you know what? I'll fucking jump in the ultra division with Chris Morgan. Chris was fighting in the ultra adult. I was a Master 2 super heavyweight. So I went down, and as soon as I entered him, I messaged him, I'm like, Chris, I'm coming to get you. Do you know what I mean? And so
games.
Yeah, so I was like, are you ready? And he's like, no. And I was like, right, I fucking got him. So this went on for weeks, and then we turned up I turned up at the hotel, and as I was coming into the hotel, I looked and I seen an Audi with the BJJ registration, and I'm like, that's Chris's car, right? So 7 o'clock in the morning, I've got pictures of me kneeled down beside his car, pointing at his car, and I sent it to him like, I'm in the car park, come out. And it was just, for me, it was an absolute laugh. And again, I did it because when I turned up, obviously, he wasn't happy. Do you know what I mean? Because I'd been fucking every day, man, for 2-3 weeks. This just went on, and Kevin was over there. Kevin was in his corner and stuff like that. Kevin was like, "Fucking Chris, get him!" And you know, and I went out and I won. And the reason I went out and won is because, and the way I look at it is, whenever you go into a fight, whether it's jiu-jitsu or MMA, boxing, you see it in MMA, Conor McGregor and stuff like that. I mean, the reason he does it is to wind them up to a point where they come into the fight angry, right? And if you're going in, and you'll know this as well, if you're fighting with anger or you're fighting for love or anything like that, it's an emotion, and you can't fight with emotion. So, and that's why I do it. I'm 5'4", so when I go in and I fight these guys like the size of Chris Morgan and stuff like that, I mean, I need every advantage. So for me, it's fun. Do you know what I mean? And I stand at the side of the mat waiting to go on, and I'm bouncing about, and I'm looking over, and I'm like, you ready? Let's fucking go. Let's do this. You know what I mean? And they're thinking, who is this crazy guy?
But the thing is after the fight, you shake hands and your friends, and it's actually different. Yeah, I know Chris well. Yeah, he's a really nice lad. He wouldn't do what you do because he hasn't got it in him.
Yeah.
He's not that type of person, but I'd imagine him going, who's this?
Yeah, but I'd known Chris for years. I mean, obviously he stopped doing jiu-jitsu for a while, and then
he did.
He messaged me not long ago. Yeah, he messaged me not long ago saying, look, he's coming back, and he's actually enjoying. I mean, he's been listening to a lot of these kind of podcasts that we've been doing, and he's been enjoying it. And he obviously was looking forward to your one coming up as well. He probably won't be happy that I've told that story. So, but nah, Chris, an absolute lovely guy. I think it's about 7 years or something I've known Chris. I think we did our first competitions the very same time. We did the London Open, which was grab and pull, which was that was the first competition that Lawrence
Yeah,
had
it was,
taken
yeah.
over
Yes, I
just
remember,
before it went into BJJ 24/7. So,
wasn't
so
it
that was the
Ruben someone before that, wasn't it? Was it Ruben? The guy
well, it
that
was
used to run it before?
Gus Oliveira.
Gus
So
and Ruben. I remember Ruben.
Ruben,
I know Gus. So yeah.
Yeah, Ruben. I can't even remember Ruben's full name. Yeah, Ruben, and I thought is it not Ruben and Lawrence or Ruben? I can't even remember, but
Yeah.
Lawrence now. So,
Yeah.
and that was our first competition we did, and since then, obviously, we'd kind of seen each other at competitions, and obviously, we chatted a lot and things like that. So, really nice guy. I mean, all the guys that came from that kind of area, I say Kev, Rhys Dorn, James Farrar, obviously Kevin, and so on.
James Farrar and Chris Morgan had a night on the drink with us in the Euros. They loved that. We found a lucky man, you know. We found a lucky man in Portugal, just randomly in the street when we were drunk. We just bought everything off him. Big hats, and we were in this pub, the only ones wearing them, and people were like, who are these? The loudest people in the room, you know. I think someone had the clothes off, maybe it's me, but you know.
No.
But it was just an absolute blowout after the competition, you know.
Yeah.
But going back to competitions, some of the sights you see competitions, man, absolutely hilarious, you know. I remember the British Open in Birmingham. We went there, and I remember there was a guy weighing in, and he was too heavy. I think he was only just over, and it wasn't as strict as IBJJF, where if you weigh in and you're over, that's it, you're done. That's why they have the pre-scale, you know. So we were stood next to this guy, and he was just over, and he had to lose some weight. So he decided to put his hoodie over the gi he was going to fight in and start trying to sweat the weight out. So he's running round and round and round and round, and he's doing squats, he's doing burpees, he's doing push-ups, and he's sweating, absolutely sweating, you know. And we were loving this because we knew what was coming. So we all stood around the scale, and he got on, he was the same weight.
Yeah.
And then he's kicking off going, your scales are wrong. And then we're going, all you've done is the weight that you've lost has gone into gi, so your weight's the same, you nugget. The amount of work he put into losing this weight, he's doing star jumps and everything. It was good to watch, like. And I'm thinking, this is what kind of people it brings out, man, you know?
Yeah. Definitely. There is. I mean, I've seen some sites. I mean, I've seen some unbelievable stuff. Guys being sick on the mat and everything from obviously weight cuts. I mean,
one of my students in Scotland, we came to Edinburgh and done the Edinburgh Open a few times. That was always a good competition.
Yeah.
And he trained hard, one of my students, and he was fighting, and he didn't look white as a sheet.
Yeah.
And he was doing all right. He was on the bottom. He stuck the cycle. Going, how do you get out, man? You know what to do. He's going, this is his mouth, man. Are you going to be sick? I go, why are you going to be sick? What's the matter with you? And he's going, I'm only sick. Well, if you're sick on the mat, you'll get disqualified, you know. So he's being sick in his mouth and swallowing it.
Oh, man.
And then I'm going, you've been taking pre-workout. He's going, I haven't. I went, you took pre-workout? He went, I haven't. I went, have you took pre-workout? I went, yeah. Oh, that's why you're sick, idiot.
Yeah. And then there's always a hilarious thing. There's always the lower belts as well, usually.
Do you know
what I mean? White belts coming in, doing their first competition and coming in. And I mean, I've done it as well. I mean, as a white belt, I mean, my first competition, I remember trying to lose ridiculous amount of weight because I wanted to get down to, that's why I started fighting at super heavy, because I was trying to get down to 94. Which was fucking, never going to happen. And I remember collapsing in the gym thinking, fucking, my coach said to me, like, what have you eaten? I'm like, nothing, absolutely nothing for like 2 days. I've been drinking, obviously, water. And he's like, why? You're only a fucking white belt. Do you know what I mean? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's serious, but I mean, it's just white belt. I mean, if it was a fucking black belt world championship, then I could understand, or do you know what I mean, world championships or whatever. But it's the London Open. It's a grab and pull London Open, and you're going in as a white belt, so you don't need to put pressure. Yeah, you don't need to put pressure, but we all do it. We've all done it.
Oh, I mean, the second time I went to Euros, but I actually got to fight this time. I was doing a weight cut, and I was walking around in low 70s, and I'd cut down to low 60s for whatever stupid reason. And I remember being in the bath trying to lose weight, crying my eyes out, and Kev sat on the toilet talking. He's going, "What's the matter with you, man? You'll be right." I'm going, "I don't want to do it anymore." And it's just, and you look back and think, why did I do that for an amateur sport?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You're just trying to. We've all got with little things to get the edge, you know. And I've done it for my super fight. I've done it for the Masters, and I'm like, I've just never learned my lesson, you know. I mean, I felt all right when I got used to it, but it just killed us. It was more injuries for me. I could hack the fighting when I was hungry and tired and fatigued because more gas during training, you've got to keep pushing through, you know. But just the whole injury for me was a wake up. I think you lose your cushioning, your body's protection, you know. And so I'm now. I say to people, try and fight your training weight, you know. I'd say because it's the same as the pro fighters, you know. They drop a lot of weight because they weigh on the day before, so you've got 24 hours to rehydrate and stuff. And you've seen what happens when it goes wrong. I mean, I remember this is probably extreme, but when Chris Cyborg done that weight cut, everybody's seen the video. That
was horrible.
Horrific. I mean, I've seen fighters weighing in some of these Japanese pro shows, you know, and they let go of them just to get weight, and they grab them as soon as the weight's on because they haven't got the energy to stand up, and that's where it's crazy. And I think the UFC changed the way they've done this as well, didn't they?
Well, saying that, man, I mean, the guy Bobby Green last night collapsed on Friday. UFC guy collapsed, kidney failure. I think it was before or after the weigh-in. It was in the back. I'm sure he just weighed in, and he went in the back, collapsed, and they were trying to rehydrate the guy. He ended up in a hospital. Fight got pulled, obviously. So I mean, even the professionals do it. And they know what they're doing as a white belt or a blue belt. But I think
so it's also about who's around you as well. I think if you've got negativity around you, just do because you've got people who take diuretics and stuff, and these diuretics are really dangerous, powerful, really bad for the kidneys, you know. But when I've done weight cuts for my guys, very, you know, looking after them, trying to say, look, you're mental, you know, try and lose your weight. Try to start earlier, don't, you know. It's an MMA thing, isn't it? And some of the guys I know in the Northeast are really good at it. They really are good at it. You know, they nail it every time. You know, it's an art, isn't it? And that's what they're all. And it's not cheating or anything. They're all doing the same weight cuts, and you know, as long as you're weighing at your given weight, you know, it doesn't matter. You know, but I don't like to see people collapsing in the health because, like I say, if you get kidney failure, not only have you not fought, but you might not fight again. You know, for Jiu-Jitsu, for an amateur sport, crackers on them.
I know. I mean, I don't know. I mean, MMA, I reckon they've got to change it for MMA because obviously I know the UFC were talking about doing different weight divisions and not doing rather than every 10 or 15 or 20, maybe doing. I mean, 170, 175, 180, and so on, just to kind of combat against it. Because, as I say, there's guys, as you said, cutting careers short and stuff like that, because they're fucking going out, especially jiu-jitsu as well, man. I mean, what are we going out? We're going out for a piece of fucking metal. Do you know what I mean? That's gold, silver, or bronze. Maybe get your name on the IBJJF ranking list. So
I'm well off that list now.
I was on it for a while. I see Kev was on it as well. Kev got quite high. Kev
number
got
one at white and blue, I think.
So again, a big plus for Kev. So we get to see Kev getting back competing as well.
I think the plan is for the people who used to compete for me want to compete again. And then obviously we'll see what influx of you will get, you know. But I never push people. I normally say to people, have a good few months training before you think about it. Just to, you've got to get the basics, you know. And, I mean, I've had guys coming from no gi to gi, so they transition quite easy, you know. So someone who's done 5 years in no gi don't really struggle in the gi. The grips and different chokes are what confuses them a little bit, and after learn that. But otherwise, I think everybody should do one competition. Just for the crack. Just to say they've done it.
It's the thing though, you do the one competition, because I remember mine, Liverpool was my one competition, and then as I say, that was me. I was hooked. I was like, I want to do this again. It was the fucking buzz, the adrenaline, even driving down in the minibus, because we went down. There was a whole team of us went down, and we turned up, and it was just mad throughout the whole day. It was like, fucking yes, man. And we're jumping about, fucking just carrying on, man. And fucking people are like, my coach now, like we went to the Euros, and my coach was like, there's 4 of us go. There's me, there's my teammate Thomas Wilson, Peter Downs, and Marco Lazzuri. And then obviously we usually go to the Euros with our coach Marcus Nardini. Now Marcus had never been to a competition with us, and the first one was I think it was the London Open. This one that we talked about, Chris Morgan. So Marcus is after it. I remember coming back up the road, and he was like, "Are you guys like that at every competition?" Like, what do you mean? And he's like, well, you didn't. None of you look nervous. You were just carrying on. You were fucking wondering about talking to people, and do you know what I mean? Like, Stuart's walking up to his opponents and fucking like, what's happening? And Marcos is one of these guys where he's been a black belt for years, but still gets very nervous, right? And he said, "What the fuck? You guys looked like you were out on a day out." Do you know what I mean? And
Jolly like, boys out, didn't he?
Aye, so and then went to the Euros. We were exactly the same at the Euros. We turned up and we were like, yes. And we're surrounded by all these top black belts, like top guys in the world, and we're just like, fucking yes, come on, here we go. We're at the Euros. Do you know what I mean?
The thing is, when you're like that as well, it doesn't give your students time to worry about the fight, does it? I mean, I stepped on the mat at the Euros, and your girlfriend was back home watching the live stream. And when they said my name again on the mat, I just heard this cheer, and I looked up in the rafters, right at the top. And there's all the lads with a beer. I'm like, you should be closer to us. But obviously, the weight cut, when I done the weight cut for that, I got off I mean, I was that hungry. I was eating baby food when I got off the scales, you know.
Right.
And I think it was Chris Scott, my brown belt, passes the beer. I think it was him. And I had this little tiny, they've done them little plastic cups.
Yeah.
A mouthful of lager. And I drank that, and I was pissed. Oh, I'm like, I'm used to 10 pints, you know. And I'm like, oh. And that was the longest day of my life, that. But I think the competition scene, I think, even if, I mean, I've said to people in the past, try and do one competition.
Yeah.
Or come with me. Come and have a laugh, you know, and it's like, it's just, I mean, a minibus full of lads, us and a minibus going down to Birmingham, especially when you get to Broad Street and that in Birmingham on the beer. I mean, the night before the comp, we were in Reflex at 3 o'clock in the morning. I was drinking Jack Daniels out of a giant martini glass, you know. Ever. One guy fell asleep in the shower with all his clothes on, and it was just an absolute, it's just the best times ever. So that's
I remember being in Blackpool and went into this pub, and it was jiu-jitsu guys from fucking wall to wall. Right, but it was obviously other people from Blackpool in this pub as well, and one of the locals started an argument with a Jits guy, right? And I remember the Jits guy just whispering to him, and came back to us what the guy had said, and he just whispered to him and said, "Mate, this is the wrong place to be kicking off in. You fucking wall-to-wall Jits guys, do you know what I mean?" And obviously, if it kicked off, man, I mean, it was fucking, do you know what I mean? It was going to go mad. But yeah, I mean, nothing happened. It got deflated very, very quickly, do you know what I mean? But
do you not think when you read about people doing jiu-jitsu, is, you know, especially when it comes to children, you know, like do jiu-jitsu, stops the bullying, stops you being a bully, which I totally agree with. Like, I'm too passive, and I think over the years I get better at jiu-jitsu. You know, when you get that confidence that you're not bothered about a fight, you don't want to fight. I mean, at my age, I can't be asked to fight, to be honest. Like, I'd rather shake hands and whatever. Yeah. We've been in loads of situations. I mean, in Brazil, we had situations like that. Just try and like play it down, and but like I say, it's like if one jiu-jitsu guy kicks off and then his mates kick off, and then all of a sudden it's like flying arm bars in the pub. You know what I mean? It's not what you want to see, really, is it?
Nah, well, my good friend Dean worked in hospitality. He was security guard for a hotel in Glasgow city centre, and he got into it one night. One drunk guy came in and started kicking off, and Dean got the guy in a rear naked choke, right, and basically put the guy to sleep. Police came, and Dean was a purple belt at the time, and Dean put his hands up and said, "Look, just before we go any further, just to let you know, I'm a purple belt in jiu-jitsu." And the police turned around and said, "Well, that's fine. We know that you never started it then."
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
And obviously with loads of witnesses, so obviously nothing happened. But yeah, I mean, that was the police's mentality, is that a jiu-jitsu guy, especially jiu-jitsu, definitely the jiu-jitsu guy would never start the fight. They would finish the fight. Do you know what I mean?
I've had, before lockdown, a couple of my students are police, so they learn it, and hopefully they've used it for the better, you know.
Yeah.
Because again, it's if you can't fight, I mean, if you use police as an example, if you can't fight, I mean, I know they get trained. I think they get trained in basic restraints and stuff, but
Yeah.
If you train in the most basic of restraints and you're up against a guy who can box, for example, I'm not saying Jiu-Jitsu is going to win all day, every day. Find that, it's going to make life a little bit easier if you know how to grapple, especially stand-up self-defense and take it to the floor properly.
Yeah.
So, it's like, that's another thing I'm trying to get my head around. People need to see the benefits in Jiu-Jitsu. Because you want to be passive, don't you? I'm not one of these where if I get in a fight, I don't aim for a rear naked choke. I'd rather pin them and say, look at me, however, it's not going to end well. Rather than, and the problem is the movies and people who are like half a brain, sometimes that's what they aim for. I'm not saying your friend's done that, but he's knowledgeable enough to know why he's done it. Sometimes you have to do that. But sometimes that's what people, especially when people are videoing it, the first thing they want to do is choke someone out. Well, it's not big and it's not clever. If someone's going to punch your face off, then But if you could scale, the situation by talking, and if worst case you put them on the floor, then and if you can hit them enough, you don't need to hurt them, even though some people do need a good dig, like. And we've seen this used wrongly before. Remember the famous Marcelo, Penzo's black belt when he was in the restaurant. Remember that one?
Yeah.
That guy chose the wrong day to go in there and kick off, didn't he? And then there was, I don't know if you remember the one with Pedro Sauer. I saw
was that the one with his daughter?
Touched his daughter up.
I remember that.
He could have. Matt Serra, Pedro Sawyer, if that's the right correct pronunciation, they could have done some serious damage. They they could have, but they didn't have to. And then you've got idiots on the street who go, just because I do Jiu-Jitsu, I may as well break his nose while he's unconscious. That's not my cup of tea. Like, that's not what I'm in it for. So
the Matt Serra one as well. Matt Serra's similar height to me, a wee fat guy, same as me, exactly the same as me. So obviously you go into a restaurant and
if you have a shave, you could be Matt Serra.
But as you go in and you look at Matt Serra, and a lot of people would think, I could take him, no problem, right? Exactly. But he's the worst guy in the fucking room to be picking on. Do you know what I mean? So,
especially in these fights.
So Matt Serra.
And Henderson Gracie doesn't dish black belts out for fun, does he?
No, definitely not. So Matt Serra, I remember that one. There was people on both sides. People saying, well done for what he did, and other people saying, well, he should never have done that in the first place. And you're like, well, what were you going to do? Do you know what I mean? As I said, he lives in a place where people are quick and easy to pull out a gun and start shooting the whole place up. So, do you know what I mean? Was it for what he did? Was it right? And then the Pedro Sauer one. If somebody touched me. Yeah, if somebody touched anybody's fucking family, man, that's off limits. That everybody knows that's off limits. So it could have, as you said, it could have ended up a lot worse for the two guys. And there was always that Joe Rogan video. Do you remember the one Joe Rogan did where he talked about the Jiu-Jitsu, and he was saying a lot of people don't know when they pick a fight, they don't know who they're fighting with. Do you know what I mean? It could be it could be a guy that's done a couple of classes in Jiu-Jitsu, a couple of classes in Muay Thai or whatever, and you pick a fight with them and they know that one move, and do you know what I mean? That could be it. So
it goes back to what you say about Jiu-Jitsu. When you train and you know you're capable. I'm not saying anybody who's black belt Jiu-Jitsu is tough, you're skilled enough to, like you said, you don't know what the other person is, because I think a black belt in Jiu-Jitsu going against a top Thai fighter in the street, it's I would probably try and talk myself out of it, to be fair. Like, don't be head kicked off. Because my knowledge over the years, I know the capabilities of every art, But again, going back to the guy in the street who wasn't trained, who wants to start a fight, Joe Rogan's completely right, And, it's what people should learn to defend themselves, My kids will learn to defend themselves. I don't want them to be bullies, but I don't want them to be in a situation where I'm not always going to be there to protect them. And the same as other fathers and mothers out there, Martial arts is the best way, and I'm not saying it's always going to be. If you send your kid to karate, then good on you. If they're getting some training, it's not something now. Boxing, boxing is probably one of the best ones you can learn to protect yourself, anyways. If you box and do jiu-jitsu, then you're definitely going to be all right. A couple of digs and a takedown doesn't go amiss, does it?
Yes. And then, it's been an absolute honour talking to you, Scott.
Oh,
I mean, I love chatting to everybody about jiu-jitsu. I mean, as I said, same as you. I mean, I'll fucking talk forever. Do you know what I mean?
I love it. I love talking about jiu-jitsu.
And but it's been an absolute honour. As I say, you're one of the guys. As I said, I've known about you. I met you a couple of times over the years. Obviously, know some of your students and stuff like that. So, you're very highly respected coach in the UK. So definitely, when we get this lockdown sorted and once we get out of it and we're actually allowed to train, then so I'm definitely going to pop down. I always wanted to roll with. Yeah, I always wanted to roll with Kev. I never got to fight him, roll with him in a competition. So I always wanted to get a couple of rolls in with him. So
you come kick his ass.
Well, maybe not.
You'd be right.
Listen, I'll come down. Kev's seen me in competition, so he knows. I'll definitely come and give him a good roll. So,
well, we'll keep in touch and definitely come down because I like people coming to visit. It has to be on a weekend though, because you can drink more on a weekend.
Definitely. Listen, a night out down at your guys would be absolutely brilliant. So,
and that's what I like about Professor Nick Brooks, because he comes, teaches an amazing seminar. Yeah, and he loves beer.
Nice.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks for asking us. Yeah, it's been really good.
And then last thing for you, obviously sponsors. Now I know that you got a care package just the other day from Tatami.
Tatami Fightwear, been amazing. I've been with Tatami Fightwear about 3 years now. I think it's 3 years. Superb. Gives us everything I need. This is the thing. Just quickly, you go back the old school, the geese, the different, and then. I remember when Tatami started up, and the evolution of their gears have been amazing, because now, I mean, you put a gear on from the 1990s, so if you look at the Cougans, the Vitamin Minerals, and stuff like that, it's like training with someone on your back, you know?
Yeah.
So now, again, I've got the best sponsor in the world, Tatami Fightwear. Their gears are amazing. The one I got yesterday was the first grey gear I've ever had. And
it looks nice.
It looks Essential 2, really nice. The Essential 2. Normally, I like the white ones and the black, because I do a black on black, but the Essential 2 one, I've just tried it on. So I'm going to let Emma Chokers in it tonight, if she's good.
It's quite light as well. I mean, do you think you would get away with that in an IBJJF comp?
Yes. Obviously, it's the fit. They do that many different geese. Tatami, and the good thing is, and I'm sure all of them are the same, but I've mainly used Tatami as my example, because my guys mainly use Tatami now, is if you get a gi and it looks like it's going to be illegal or it's too short for you, you return it straight away. Free returns. You get another one. Obviously, don't order a gi a day before a competition. But the variety of the gis now is unbelievable. I've got everything I need and more off the time. They're amazing. But when you go on the website, for anybody who wants to browse, you go on the website. Even going on the leisure way, man, it's like, you go on ASOS and you've got millions of things. It's like ASOS now, Tatami. It's like everything. But they're being good. So shout out to all the team, Gareth and all the team, and these have been amazing. So I can only thank them.
Yeah. I do love the Tatami stuff. I've got Tatami hoodies and t-shirts, and I've got a couple of Tatami gis and Tatami tracksuit. They did a black tracksuit. And the tracksuits are nice. I mean, I bought another tracksuit, but the fitting, it was exactly the same tracksuit, but the fitting between the two. So, so obviously having short legs, I had to send the second one back because obviously the legs were too small, too big.
I'm sure they sell the trousers, the pants separate, don't they?
Yes. So
you on the gate page right at the bottom.
Yes. So Tatami. So anybody looking for any kind of good stuff, Tatami. I mean, there's going to be there's a lot of good kind of products out there just now. I saw that one that you put up, that gi, and I thought that looked absolutely fantastic.
You seen the pink one
as well? I saw the pink one. Because it went on. Where did it go? It went on the BJJ Fanatics page, right? And everybody, the conversations, the comments, some of them were absolutely ridiculous.
Somebody said I was a McDojo. Bastard.
I saw that.
I don't bite.
But I saw that because obviously it went up. It was your students' one went up first, right? And then obviously you went away and dyed your one as well. So and then you had the picture of the 2 years. So,
brilliant.
But definitely good fun. But no, as I said, absolute honour, Scott.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Very much. I know it's Valentine's Day. Emma's probably sitting in the back saying, "Hurry up, get him off."
She got her Ferrero Rocher and her roses this morning with my daughter.
Right.
And I think her and the kids are upstairs watching this.
Right, okay.
So,
well, listen, Emma, apologies for obviously stealing Scott away on Valentine's Day. I know he should be spending it with you. But listen, Scott, again, absolute honour. Thank you very much for taking the time to speak to me. And fingers crossed we get back training soon.
Yeah, to all you and all your guys, hope you're back soon. Because I know we normally follow Scotland, don't we? So if you get the lockdown, stop, we're normally behind. But yeah, it'd be good. And sometime hopefully I can get up there and put you more welcome down there with your guys.
Listen, if you're coming up, listen, just let me know and I'll sort out seminars and stuff like that for you. Do you know what I mean? Well,
yeah, great.
There's a lot of gyms in Scotland, as I say, would definitely love for you to come up. So so yeah, just let me know and we'll get that sorted out for you, Scott.
Excellent. Thank you.
All right. Thank you again, Scott.
Yes, you're welcome.
You enjoy the rest of your day, buddy. Okay.
You too, mate. Take care. Thank you.
Take care.
Cheers,
Bye-bye.
bye.